And we are live once again. I am your host for today, standing in for the lovely live VIP while he is, of course, recovering from his sickness. And with me, for the very first time, once again, it is Chappy.
Hello. Oh, very excited to be here for this series. We got our very own CranKy Ducklings coming up against Alpha X. Definitely a tough fight, but I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and look at them there. We have the likes of Eric, the likes of Dolan. We have Starduck and Oreo and Vindicta, and of course Patty Mac, all here and ready to go. We do see, unfortunately, we have lost our first two games in the league, but we are going to be fighting it out for those bottom spots, trying to get away from that relegation, of course. And I think we really do have a good shot at that. So this is one of those teams, one of those tougher teams in the middle that are going to be a little bit more difficult for us to break through. But if we can beat one of these teams, it is going to be doing wonders for us in the league. Meanwhile, we do see these two star players from each team lining up here. We do have Astrea and Vindicta here. What can you tell us about these players?
Well, Astrea definitely on form at the moment, especially. He did so well in Home Story Cup recently. He's playing insanely well in the current ESL. He's in Korea training at the moment. He's been in a 6 spot. Can you talk about Vindicta? I know you're a big fan of Migs.
Yeah, of course. A big fan of Migs. He's been going from strength to strength, especially in this past year, making a pretty nice run in the NA regional as well, and being such a strong player for our team. I saw there was a video actually for the regional DreamHack where each of the players from the NA region, they were kind of talking about a few different things that they were proud of. And Vindicta was saying that his proudest career achievement is his WTL run, because he carried the CranKy Ducklings so hard in our qualifying run through Code A. I think at one point he was like 24-3 win-loss, like insane win-loss, clean sweeping through all these teams to carry us through to the Code S. So it's really cool to see that that's like his proudest moment as well.
Well, it was very sick. It's just... StarCraft is such a hard game, and it's so hard to hit those levels of consistency. 23 insane records like that are so rare, and are so hard, especially when anyone that's lower than you is trying to punch up and do the cheesiest, dirtiest stuff imaginable.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, we do see a couple of players. Speaking of cheesy, dirty players, we do have our very own Dolan here, and he has some cheesy and nasty builds, especially in TVP. So coming up against Zoun here, I actually think he has a very good chance to take at least a map, if not both. He is such a sniper in TVP. And Zoun is a player that we have seen his form hasn't quite been the same this year as it has been in previous years.
And I guess even from my own experience, just from Dolan, he's got a series on YouTube, brilliant, called Dolan Builds. It is the most degenerate, cheesy garbage out there, and it works so well. I use it on like much better players than I, and get the freest wins. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't feel good about this, but I kind of do.
Yeah, I've slowly over the last few months become a big Dolan fan. I do use quite a few of his builds, especially in TVT, to sneak out those cheeky wins. But meanwhile, we do have his opponent here in the bottom right-hand corner playing for Alpha X. It is Zoun.
And in the top left corner, we have the very CranKy Ducklings, Dolan.
The very CranKy Ducklings. Let's go. And yeah, we see straight away from Dolan, he's going for something a little bit cheeky here, actually going for a gas first opening. But Zoun, he must know what kind of player he's up against. He doesn't want to have any shenanigans. He is sending a very early probe scout.
Was that before the pylon? That is so insanely early.
Yeah, I think he might have literally sent it as soon as the game started. So he doesn't want any shenanigans. He wants to be in this base, just harassing and annoying these workers, keeping on top of anything that Dolan wants to be going for here.
And this is a Korean classic for players on the NA ladder especially. We see Prince and a few people that come over, they're like, I don't want to lose to anything. There's a few cheeky builds that I'm just going to send my probe straight across the map. I'm going to deal with the economic disadvantage and just play out the game as is.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to call this the Curry probe, the Stephen Curry probe. There's a Protoss player called Stephen Curry that loves to do this. and every time you play against him, you end up having like 4 or 5 different orange health SCVs as you try to hold off this one probe.
As someone that's taken a little bit of a look at Brewbora as well recently, which is such an insane game with the probes, with just extra range, allowing them to do so much. Oh no, Dolan!
Yeah, we do see one worker going down there already. He's going to have to be really careful that he doesn't lose another one here to this probe. The probe is just being so annoying right now.
And it's already paid for itself. This early scout has just done enough damage, annoyed Dolan enough, and taken out one of his workers.
Yeah,
but what do we have here?
Yeah, we've got something very cheeky coming out from Dolan here. Actually going for a proxy factory. Zoun does look like he is pathed here to scatter. We do see a lot of these pro players, sometimes they do have that spare APM to reroute the probe, their little scout there, and sometimes they do miss out on these scouts here. And oh, he's just going to miss out on scouting the factory there. Wow.
That is so close. That was like 1 pixel off. If he accused it slightly differently, Dolan doesn't get away with this at all. But this is great for Dolan.
Yeah, this is sick from Dolan. He is proxying both the factory and the starport, so this is going to be a very, very fast mine drop coming in off one base here. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see him maybe throwing down an armory as well to go with this.
I was wondering, and as a studier of Dolan, he does have a couple of armory one base builds, going into Thors, going into some very cheeky builds. I wonder if this is one of those.
Yeah, actually, this is something that I have seen before with a Thor drop as a follow-up. I don't think that would be the worst idea. Seeing as he's still on one base here, he does have to go for something, and we do see that tech lab going down the factory. I think this could actually be maybe a Thor drop, maybe a tank drop.
There is no armory, though. That's the one thing that's different to me. I wonder if it is a tank push.
Yeah, and there we go. We do see that tank started up right away. So this is going to be a nasty, nasty, cheesy push. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see him starting to move out with these Marines in a moment and setting up this attack to hit all at once.
And this is scary for Zoun. What does he have in place at home? I think he's got a couple of Stalkers, but nothing much versus these 2 mines. Let's see how his reaction is.
Yeah, good pull there. He is able to get those workers away. Just going to be losing 1 to each of those, but Dolan as well. He's going to be able to get this medevac out, and this medevac might be used once again to bring in the tank. We do see a Liberator being started up as well, so this is a very cheeky technical push coming out from Dolan, and we will see those Marines coming out. Of course, Zoun had that scanning across the map, knows that there's no natural yet, and we see the boys being pulled as well. Dolan is completely all in here. Wow, what a build.
And I love this. Blink will be finishing up, but this is so much. Is Blink going to be enough? He's got a couple of shield battery. He's dropping some more shield batteries at natural right now. But God, this is so scary for Zoun.
Yeah, I do not know if he has enough here to hold this. I'm loving all these little details from Dolan as well. You can see these builds are so well practiced out of him. We see the way that he set up his mines to try to catch air units coming out across the map so he wouldn't have to deal with them with just Marines. We see the way that he takes the watchtower with the tanks, and he is right in here on the base of Zoun. These Blink Stalkers, they were not able to stop him across the map, and he is going to be crawling these tanks up here. This is so hard for Zoun to deal with.
And this Liberator gets into such a nice position, and it can be healed up as well, giving so much space for these tanks just to start pushing on in. And when those tanks can start shelling the shield batteries, that's when it gets so scary for Protoss.
Yeah, this is a very scary situation indeed. Once these tanks are starting to shell away at the probe, at the pylons, at the batteries. I wouldn't mind to see from Zoun here maybe going to wrap around to clean up some of the reinforcements. That's exactly what he's going to do with those Stalkers. And he can even eventually give up this natural. Obviously, he wants to make Dolan fight for it, but he is actually going to be jumping straight on top of these tanks. We see one tank going down right away, a little bit slow on the repair there. Both tanks going down, and there is a third tank here. That shield battery overcharge is doing so much work right now.
That tank is just not dying, though. The SCVs are getting... letting it live. Ooh.
Yeah, the tank goes down there. That Immortal coming out just at the right time, and that is all the tanks going down. Dolan, he has to get out of here. He is going to be running away, tail tucked between his legs. That Liberator coming in now, but without the support of the tanks, I don't know how much more he can get done here.
And the tanks are just so key for this push as well. It's the way that it pushes in, gets value over time. And it's very scary losing them, but he gets his tank back in position, so yeah, time to go again.
Is in a good spot here, but we do see these Batteries for Zoun. I love the way that he's kind of staggered them further and further back. He is going to be jumping straight on top of this Liberator. That Liberator goes down. That Immortal is not going down at all. And all the Marines being cleaned up here. I think this is the beginning of the end for Dolan.
Very, 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 very cool build by Dolan, but just not enough to beat out Zoun today.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love the execution of this defense by Zoun. Even sending a few units up towards the top to deal with the drop, and Dolan just not able to get this one done. GG is called. Zoun taking the first game.
Yeah, very sick play. Not being surprised by the early Wintermine drop, being so cognizant and not losing anything there. Bringing his Stalkers around from the main and making sure he picks off those rallies and coming in from 2 angles, killing those 2 tanks was so key. Sick defense by Zoun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just see Alpha X. They are going to be taking the first game out, but Dolan, that was a really nice build coming out from him, and it will be his map pick now. So especially with a player like Dolan, he does have these special builds that he has prepared for different maps. I know he has a very special build for TVP on Stargazers, so it'll be interesting to see if that is going to be his map pick and whether he's going to be pulling that one out again. I do have to think, though, Zoun might have been able to prepare for the builds of Dolan.
Yeah, for sure. And with a reputation like Dolan's, of course, Zoun it's always on his mind. He was scanning out for proxies. His probe went immediately across the map. He's so cognizant that Dolan is this very cheesy guy. And it looks like you're correct. It is going to Stargazers.
Yeah, he is in fact going to be going for Stargazers here. So, this build by Dolan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil too much about it because it's really sick, and I hope he does get to do it. And it'll be sad if he doesn't get to do it and I explain it. But he does go for combat shields first.
No.
That's all there is to it so far. You'll see.
I'm intrigued. I want
it's
to
really
know
cool.
this.
This is actually a build that I saw. I think Pig's been doing it a little bit as well. Pig, he was saying that when he's playing random, sometimes he just doesn't want to play TVP. He just wants kind of like an easy build where he can just go for this brutal 2-base all-in. And it's something that he's been using a little bit as well. We'll have to see if he brings it in here, but here we are, spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing for Alpha X. It is Zoun.
And the Cheese Lord in the top right corner. He's got some amazing builds. For CranKy Ducklings, it's Dolan.
The Cheese Lord himself. And we do see Zoun once again going to be sending out that very early probe. And I do hope for Dolan as well that maybe he has something that's a little bit more well hidden. That last game, of course, that probe was able to sit outside his base for the entire time and see that he hadn't dropped a natural. And really, as the Protoss, that's all you need to see sometimes.
Oh, the SCV getting very low here. Oh.
Yeah, that SCV just having to dance and drive. I think he's going to have to get some repair going down on that as well just to save it. But looks like he is able to tuck it away in his mineral line. Has to be really careful with that. We can see as well that he doesn't want to repair if he doesn't have to. It is going to throw his build off quite a bit if he wastes those extra minerals.
Yeah, definitely. Even just that extra bit so it doesn't get one shot, I think is just so important.
Oh, and he jumps on the probe. Wow, Stick takes out the probe, and that is a big mental victory for Dolan.
Outplayed. God, that was so sick.
That's something that I love doing that on ladder. I have no idea if it's worth it. It probably isn't worth it, but boy, does it feel good.
Yeah, it's just... And you could see Zoun, he got the probe the SV last game. Like, clearly he's like, there's Ghost Ox, I'm going to get this so easily. And Dolan just pounces and destroys him. What a win.
Big win for the CranKy Ducklings. Let's go. No, we do see Dolan going for a faster expand. Not going to be going for any double gas sort of build. He's going to be going into his 2 bases here and throwing down that factory as well. So he's going to be progressing at least onto 2 bases. But as always, I'm sure he has something rather cheeky in store.
It's great that he gets to go for a 1 gas play while the probe was killed. Because last game, it's so clear from Zoun's point of view that he has to be afraid of these 1-base all-ins. And not having any information about it. Look at where his probe has been. He has scouted every single spot on the map. He went to the bottom left, up again, and he's going through the center now. He's checking everywhere.
Yeah, Dolan's reputation doing wonders for him now because Zoun is spending so much of this time, losing a lot of mining time as well on this probe, just checking everywhere. Not able to use that scouting probe, so kind of losing 2 probes, really.
Yeah. It looks like it. There's 3
Oh,
Rexes
he's doing the
very,
build.
very quick. Oh,
He's doing the
okay.
build. He's
I'm
going for
so
those
excited.
extra 3 Rexes. So what I'm expecting to see here as well, normally when you go for these 3 Rex builds, you go for 2 Tech Labs, of course, to get your Stim and your Combat Shields, but he kind of tucks these Rexes away back in the corner here and goes for an extra reactor. So he'll be making 5 Marines at a time.
Wow, I love the sound of it, especially versus someone like Zoun, who seems to tend towards Blink openers, towards Twilight openers, like rather than the Colossus opener. So I'm very excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, Cyclone going to be taking down the Adept. Showing the Cyclone as well, I think pretty important. Does show that he's made that factory. Shows that he is going for at least something that resembles standard play. Something that I really like about this build is it is pretty well hidden, especially if we do see Zoun going for an Observer Scout, going for a Hallucination Scout. Because it's coming in from the left here, the first thing that it sees is going to be that natural base setup and mining.
And Zoun playing that very low vision style. He doesn't have anything for no oracles to scout out the base. He doesn't have a robo for a quick observer. He is kind of in the dark for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. As we said, tanks being started up. We see a second tank already coming out for Dolan. We see that reactor, of course. So there we go. That combat shields is down. We see that observer. A little bit surprised, of course, but this is something we have seen Dolan pulling out before. And I wonder if Zoun is aware of this build.
Yeah, it's so weird. I love every part of it. I'm fascinated to see how this goes. Do you think that you push down that top area? Is that why it's so good on Stargazers? Or is it better because it's just harder to scout everything that's happening here?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it, that it's hard to scout, as we do see, yeah, nice positioning of the units. And as we were talking about before, Zoun coming in from that left side there, sees the natural, sees it's fully mining, is going to have some kind of idea that this is a 2-base play, maybe some kind of a macro game. And we do see, yeah, Dolan is going to be starting to mine out these minerals here, but Zoun is aware of it, is going to be... That was really weird that they weren't shooting.
Oh, I guess you don't have vision. I guess you need something on the watchtower.
Oh, you need something on the watchtower. Wow.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea. As here we go, we see this push coming across the map. Zoun already using that blink, so he will just have to run away from these units here as they start to get a little bit of damage. He's going to have to be careful with those SUVs as well. He does want to get a few of those across to help build bunkers, so doesn't want to be losing all of these. We do see those mules being dropped as well. Going to be trying to mine out that back base to setting up another avenue of attack. This is a very well thought out build coming out from Dolan, and we see Zoun. He is in full panic mode as these tanks are banging down this front door. And Dolan is just going to be going for it right away.
Wow, not even taking time to siege up. He thinks he's got the kill, and there is a super battery going at the moment, but...
Wow. All of these probes going down, so many stalkers going down, and really Zoun is in desperation mode, flies that F2 War Prism over the top of the army, and wow, Dolan is in such a good spot here.
What? This build is sick! I want to play this now! Like, it's so different from anything that we see, and we saw that Zoun had no vision this whole game. And
I love this. Dolan just sends it, and look at these Marines. You can see the combat shields. They take extra shots from these stalkers, so they can just run straight on top of these units. They don't have to worry about anything really coming out here. And if he can get on top of this disruptor, sniping that! Wow.
Yes. Wow, that was so decisive. Not even sieging up his tanks, he just went for it. He knew he had the kill potential there. That was so sick.
Yeah, I love these adjustments by Dolan. Realizes that he doesn't have to do the slow siege. He can just go straight in there. He has that surprise factor. We see every single probe going down. And I think Dolan has done a GG.
Oh, that was so sick. A bit of a fist bump there.
Yeah.
Oh, finger guns. Oh, I love you, man. Oh.
We see the humble pop-off. The very humble pop-off Dolan. Not one to go too crazy there, but wow. Gets CranKy Ducklings on the board there, and we are 1-1.
Well played by Dolan. This is a hard matchup of players, and Dolan played that very well.
Yeah, that is a sick build. I know you want to jump on ladder and try that one out.
God, it's so gross.
Yeah, so Dolan really catching Zoun off guard there, sending all the right signals there that he's going into a bit more of a macro game, maybe something a little bit further down the line. And yeah, as you were pointing out before, the way that he just went straight in with those unsieged tanks, he was just against Stalkers. And the DPS against the Stalkers, it is better when they're unsieged. Does gives you the opportunity to jump on top of the shield battery as well. And Zoun kind of going for the same defense as last time, wasn't quite able to get everything up in time.
Yeah, definitely. I love how Dolan seems to be able to play with his perception, basically. From the first game, it was clearly this very, very cheesy one-base play. And just by denying scouting, Zoun is so afraid of that. Everything he's doing is to prepare for this one base fall in, and Dolan calmly goes to two bases and hits a brutal timing that just crushes Zoun.
You can say degenerate if you want.
I will constantly. I can't get that out of my vocabulary. It's too baked.
Absolutely, but with scores 1-1, we do have the two ace players coming up against each other now. It is going to be Astrea and Vindicta, and here we go. We see a very impressive hexagon coming out from Astrea. Max Angel, the 9 in macro, the 9 in defense. He is a formidable Protoss player to be coming up against.
A very sick player. I don't agree with that chart, and maybe we can talk about it in a moment. But Vindicta as well, with very strong macro, which I definitely agree with. I love his defense as well. I think he's so easy. He's so willing and able to go into late game at times that I wish.
Yeah, I wish they would give him a little bit more defense. And we were talking about this the last time we casted him as well. I think a 6 in micro is not accurate at all. He's shown he's got some really sick micro, especially with disruptor split, stuff like that. I think that's definitely one of his strengths. And I would argue offense, maybe not one of his biggest strengths either. He is more of a defensive player, but we do see the way that these two players stack up against each other, according to SC Boy here. And they will be starting off on Data C.
I think the most surprising thing is when I look at this, I don't think of Astrea as this defensive player. I think of him having these very weird NA builds, and he's always had his own style. So I always thought his strategy was his strongest. His defense is a very good player, so his defense is sick too, but that's not what pops into my head when I think of Astrea.
Yeah, I don't think that's what sets him apart. I think it is the strategies, it is the wild kind of... I think of him, when I think of Astrea, I think of economic cheeses. I think of these crazy builds where you take really early nexuses, where you pump out insane numbers of probes, and you just have these moments where you just pull the game completely out of the control of your opponent.
Yeah, definitely. And there are times where he just does a weird switch, a weird twist on the meta, basically, that people don't expect and just can surprise people and win games just straight up off that, while having a very solid foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. We see him doing some wild things. We see him really doing things his own way. But as you were saying, that solid foundation, he is just like a very strong Protoss player. He can play the standard styles as well. We've seen he has been laddering on Korea while he's been staying in Korea, reaching, I think, 6'4", 6'5", that sort of MMR. So shows that he can hang with the best of them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always impressed. I watched a little bit of his stream as well, and his control, everything about him is... I love watching. And 6'5", when everyone thinks AU 6'5" isn't that high because Cyril's 7'2" and all these things. When you look at Korea,
it's like the top of the top. Yeah,
it is the very, very top. Above that, it's mostly inactive accounts. 6'5" is him. For some reason, Keen. I don't know how he's so amazingly high, and Maru and a few others. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah, for sure. But here he is in the top right-hand corner for Alpha X. It is Astrea.
And in the bottom left-hand corner for CranKy Ducklings, it's Vindicta.
Our very own Vindicta, the star player for the CranKy Ducklings. And he is someone I have to say as well, these two players, they are pretty close friends. I know that they do talk to each other a lot about the game. They do get in a lot of practice together as well. They do prepare for other opponents with each other quite a lot and discuss strategy and stuff like that. So I do expect that there's going to be some kind of weird mind games coming into this one.
And I love seeing stuff like that. I always hope that I could, I guess, see into their minds and where we've seen all these practice games and how these mind games are occurring. And it seems like
Yeah.
Vindicta, even right from the start, is completely willing for his main.
Yeah, very interesting. This is something that honestly I don't see him do very often. And I have to wonder if he's playing with some of the perceptions that we have or that they have for each other. This is something that maybe they've talked a little bit about, what it means when a Terran's doing this or something like that. But it looks like Astrea is going to be able to pop in, see that that wall is finished, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of assumptions he makes based on that.
Yeah, definitely. And Vindicta seems to just be doing a very standard play behind it. It's just getting a slightly later CC. Command center. Whoa. Just with the depot. But it's still going into that one gas standard play.
Just barely not getting the extra damage there. But yeah, nice that you point that out, going for the one gas player. Usually when you go for a wall off like this, it is for a double gas player, and it is to hide what your tech is, whether you're going for a factory, whether you're going for extra Raxes, whether you are in fact throwing down a second CC or not. It's definitely a mind game to be going for this with a single gas. It's something that we've seen Beyond do quite a lot actually, but not something that a lot of Terran players do.
I remember Bunny used to do it quite a bit as well, but his was even more degenerate, since I'm allowed to say that word. It was either one base was all-ins, or it was like 3 command centers before starport.
Interesting. Yeah. This is something that I've based off some Euthermal videos where he talks about it a lot. Euthermal always been a big proponent of the double gas in TVP, where you can use this wall off to sometimes be throwing down a CC and sometimes being going for a one base all in, and you can play those two builds off each other. It looks like Vindicta is actually going to be going for a bit more of an aggressive build as we see him jumping into the main with this Reaper.
But did he lose too much HP? Is he going to get a scout? Ooh.
Yeah, just doesn't manage to get too much of a scout there. We do see for Astrea, he's going to be just jumping in with this Adept here. Not quite sure if he's able to make out the CC or the factory there. Looks like they might be just out of vision there, as we do see an extra Rax going down for Vindicta as well. So Astrea here, he's going to look to maybe get a little bit of a contain going here, but he is just in vision of Vindicta.
Ooh. That is such a nice find by Vindicta. That's very important though.
Yeah, that pylon could have been very annoying from him. I'm sure we'll just see that cancelled right before it finishes up. We do in fact see that. But at the same time, that does mean Vindicta is going to be able to get this bunker up. Astrea seeing that is going to be aware of the second base. We do see him just kind of shaking his head a little bit. We do see him playing very safe with that fast robo. So maybe he has been tricked a little here.
I definitely feel like that. Going for this fast of a robo, it feels like he was afraid of something, which every signal that was sent out by Vindicta meant he should be afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see as well these Stalkers are going to be poking in here. That's a lot of Stalkers that Astrea's made here. So I like the way that Vindicta here got the repairs going early on that bunker, even though there weren't units in there, because he realizes this bunker is very important to his defense. And Astrea, we see him throwing down that third base now that he's seen what's going on, but does find himself in a little bit of an awkward position.
Definitely interesting going for that observer first too. When I say there's 4 stalkers out in the field, I usually think of the 4 stalker Warp Prism drop. But it seems like he's playing a bit safer, getting that past the third and rushing up to possibly Colossuses or Disruptors.
Yeah, we do see a pretty early Robo-Bay coming down, so he's going to be just skimping on those units a little bit, getting a lot of probes out and jumping up that tech tree to start going into, either Colossus or Disruptor. We're seeing an Immortal coming out just for a little bit of extra safety there as well as those extra gases. So Astrea just kind of powering along here, and it's going to be important for Vindicta to find a nice sharp timing to hit it.
Yeah, definitely. And he truly is powering up for that too. He's got a decent amount of siege tanks, which I like. I'm liking that. Dropping in the starport only now, so there's so much Marine Marauder that's just going to hit this great timing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have to realize as well, Vindicta hasn't got that much scouting across the map at this point. Doesn't know if there's an all-in coming his way, so that might be why he's making those extra tanks. We do see Astrea. He's coming in with this observer at a very awkward angle. I really like this, actually. That's a nice move. You're always going to be expecting, as the Terran, for that observer to be coming, flying kind of by wire straight from the main and heading over through the front there, but he's kind of found a way to sneak into the base here.
Yeah, that's great. And you saw that all the Marines were positioned on the side of the ramp too. Sorry, the side of his main as well. And he
Yeah,
even takes it
definitely.
here. It's clear that he's looking very specifically for observers there. So
Mhm.
really cool play by Astrea. Surprised I haven't seen that more actually. That's really cool.
Yeah, I actually really like it. I think if I was going to be playing some Protoss, I'd definitely be stealing that. But we do, in fact, see that Colossus coming out, setting up on top of this ramp as well. So it's going to make things very awkward for Vindicta. If he can't get a nice siege position going on here, he's not really going to be able to get too much done. Meanwhile, I don't know how that mine got there.
Very important for this Colossus army to meet it out on the map, and
Mhm.
Australia is doing that very, very well.
Yeah, Disruptor does show itself. Nice little dodge there by Vindicta. Isn't taking too big a shot here, but every stim is going to be pretty important until those medevacs meet up with his army.
Yeah, and definitely he going around trying to see if Australia's paying attention and but Australia is. He's meeting him out on the map and has been a great defense by Australia so far.
Yeah, Astrea has done a really good job just meeting him out on the map, just forcing sieges, trying to get those little swipes at him, making sure that those tanks don't get set up in any awkward positions where they can start shelling away at the Nexus. And Vindicta, he's going to realize that there's not really any big opportunity there to get that damage, and he's going to have to back off. But we do see he's just continuing to make tanks, and this is something that we've seen the likes of Hero Marine doing in this matchup, where you can just go very, very heavy into the tanks, and this gives you such a strong base that you can never really be pushed down by Colossus pushes here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually curious. So at the start, it was very, very tank and marine heavy, and a very late starport. Is this kind of one of the styles that's being played at the moment? A lot of the things I see, it's like get a widow mine drop so that you can hit at the front with tanks. Well, what's the strength of this build?
We have been seeing a lot of those three-prong builds, but this build in particular, this is something that I've been seeing Clem do quite a bit, where he goes for a very delayed starport to get a tank push across the map. I think if he had caught Australia being a little bit more greedy and not going for the early robo, he probably could have got something a little bit more done there. But the strength of it as well is that you're very safe defensively. So when you're delaying that starport, you do need a lot of tanks just to keep yourself safe. And you have this pretty impenetrable setup where you can kind of do whatever you want here as the Terran going further into this game. We see Australia's got a very nasty push coming his way, but I think Vindicta should be able to defend this if he can get in position.
There's so much out in the map though. He's got so much out in the map. It's only the tanks, and the charge lofts get right on top of it, and four tanks go down immediately.
Yeah, these Colossus are doing so much work, and the army of Vindicta was so split. He had the army that he needed to deal with this, but he was so out of position, just did not catch this army coming across, and wow, that is so much damage that he's just taken there.
His in the fight micro was good, everything else was good. It was just out of position, and that it's so hard.
Yeah, he finds himself in a really awkward position there. That tank, that was the backbone of his army. That was what was keeping him safe from these Colossus. With the delayed starport, meaning that he doesn't have Vikings. And now he finds himself in a really weird spot where he has to fight off these two Colossus and all the Disruptors with only 2 tanks to his name. And yeah, I like these bunkers coming up here. That will cut off this angle, but I think the Disruptors can deal with that, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. But the Warp Prism coming in the main as well. It feels like this 1-2 punch is going to be so scary. With nothing in the main at the moment, a couple of rallies, but that's it.
Yeah, that main has been evacuated right away. We do see another warp in coming in at the natural, and Vindicta, he's going to have to commit a lot of supply to have to clean this up, and he just doesn't have that supply. GG is called, and Astrea taking game 1 over Vindicta. Looks like he's not quite happy with how that one played out, though.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It came down to that one moment. Vindicta's whole build was building this tank out, and then in one moment he just didn't have the bio there. Everything crashed on through. The Zealots just destroyed the tanks, and it was just game lost on them in a moment.
Yeah, that very high tank count, that's so strong when you're coming up against robo players. And now that I think about it a little bit more, I think what might have been the idea of this build was to show it looking like a double gas build and have Astrea go into Phoenix player. That's something that we've been seeing Protoss players play a lot against double gas openers, is these Stargate builds. And I think going for like a heavy bio tank push was designed to kill that. I think that's what was going on there.
Yeah.
Checks
I
out to
really
you?
like that idea. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a very cool idea.
But anyway, we are going to be seeing Waterfall coming up. That is the map choice for Vindicta. This is a map that can be very oppressive in TvP. It's such a small map. There's so little area to work with. Every little mistake is just completely magnified by how small the map is.
Yes, certainly. I'm looking forward to see what Vindicta does again.
Mhm.
I'd actually like to see it same as the first game, just have that early wall off as well. You're playing around with, you are the underdog. You're playing around with that perception that maybe he feels like, Astrea feels like Vindicta might need a cheese. If he doesn't know what Vindicta's ideas are, maybe often you pair like this with the double gas opening with the same opener, and maybe just
Yeah.
play the same again. It's so hard for the Protoss to read.
Yeah, I definitely expect to be seeing maybe a double gas opener, not necessarily an all-in, but that kind of more meta aggressive double gas style where we're going to be seeing a strong push with a Raven, with some tanks, maybe a few mines as well. There are a lot of options that the Terran has playing off this double gas opener. And like you were saying, Vindicta can play with his image a little bit. He can go for that early wall off once again and do something a little bit cheeky there, but for Astrea, I know he's got some cheeky builds up his sleeve as well.
Yeah, and talking about Australia, in the bottom left-hand corner, playing for Alpha X, it is Australia.
And spawning here in the top right-hand corner of the map for our very own CranKy Ducklings. Give it up for Vindicta.
With the Maru Simp portrait, gotta respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll love to see it. I think that does signify that we are, in fact, on a different server. So I know Australia being in Korea at the moment, they're probably playing one on NA, one on Korea. So I wonder if that means this is the game on Korea. I'm not really sure. There will be some ping advantage for one of the players, but we're seeing Vindicta actually going for something a little bit cheeky here, sending out a proxy an SCV to a proxy position very early.
Wow. Is this? What do you think this is? Do you think it's double racks for Reapers? Maybe a proxy factory? I'm really curious actually.
Yeah, considering how far away it is, a proxy factory would be a little bit weird, but it is a small enough map that it's possible still.
I also thought with how early it came out, it was going to be a Rax, but the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, he really needs to dodge that scout. It's so important for this build that getting it out nice and early, you lose a bit of mining, but it's well worth it for that information denial.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He doesn't want to have that SCV ducking out while Astrea is still there. So, yeah, it does look like he might actually be going for a Hellion drop here.
Oh, interesting. So he got it out very, very early. That's...
Oh. Wait, what is this?
Oh, this is wild.
That's another Rax, right?
Yeah.
So he shows Astrea the Raxon factory at the front, which looks incredibly normal. It just looks like the most normal double gas opening. I mean, Astrea got in, he saw the double gas, he saw everything that was going on, but this looks like it's actually going to be a one base all in with a hidden Rax. This is... Vindicta, have you been hiding some nasty, nasty builds from me?
This is beautiful. Okay, what do you think? Okay, Hellions, damn. I was hoping for double factory tank. Imagine 10 tanks at the front off one base. Nothing they can do to stop it. But maybe my imagine was running a bit too wild there.
Yeah, maybe getting that imagination away from you a little bit, but it does look like, in fact, he is going to be starting up a tech lab on this Rax that is hidden over here. Might be able to get a fast stim that way, but for Astrea, we are seeing once the, with Vindicta actually playing double gas here, he is in fact going for a Stargate.
Wow, this is a really cool reaction. Sorry, this is a real cool build by Vindicta.
Yeah, we just see him going for these very early Marauders here. Very interested to see what he's going for here. Looks like he is trying to counter. I think this would work better against a Blink opener. So a little bit unfortunate that he does go up against Stargate once again, but with the mines there, he does have a bit of utility to catch out some of the units as well. And we do see a Twilight actually being started up by Astrea here.
Yeah, so the more I look at it, it doesn't feel like that many units. I'm curious what the aim is. It seems like there's a lot of Hellions in here. Maybe it's just a bust through the front with the Hellions destroying all the depths.
It
I'm
is a
really
bit of a
curious.
weird hodgepodge of units, but I love this response by Australia. Just going to go for a full wall here. Does manage to take out one of those Hellions as well, as we see a bunker being started up on the low ground for Vindicta. What an interesting build.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And
you see
he's
a
getting
lot of
through.
pros being pulled here.
He's getting
Ooh.
through the Adepts. Oh, good mind taking out the Phoenix.
Yeah, and we're starting to see some probes going down. The shield battery overcharge has been forced here. That is a lot of damage going down, but Astrea is holding for now. Very nice micro back and forth with those probes.
Yeah, definitely. But this isn't stopping. He's rallying. He's got a bunker at the natural. This is so interesting. I love it.
Yes, bunker is going to be able to keep some of these units safe. It's very important, especially going up against the Stargate, that he does keep this marine count. I do believe that is what he's been doing with that here. But is that a tank shot? Where is this tank? Maybe not.
No, it must be a graphic or something of just like the explosion of a marauder.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't know.
I think so, yeah. That was very weird, actually. But it looks like, yeah, this bunker, Australia is just going to be dancing back and forth with this. Australia doing a very good job holding this so far. And with that extra warp in of a Stalker, I do think that Vindicta find himself in a fairly awkward position here. The bunker does go down and the Marines have to get away from there.
And you can see Vindicta, it feels very awkward for him here. He's dropping a command center in his base. He's not even able to drop it as natural. He's starting to tank a bunch of Marines, and maybe it's a follow-up Marine tank timing?
Yeah, we do see Stim is being started up. We see the tank being started up as well. With that CC getting started, that's a little bit confusing for me. It kind of looks like he's kind of putting a few eggs in different baskets. But we see another couple Raxes going down as well. With 4 Raxes, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a bit more of an all-in timing coming here.
Yes, certainly. And Australia does have done the knowledge, but he sees the command center. He knows that he's in a good spot. He knows that he can drop that third, and he's starting up charge. And it seems like he just wants, maybe he just wants to try and crush this push when it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are seeing that third, we are seeing charge. That is going to be very good against any kind of tank push. It seems like Australia really has had a very good grasp of what's been coming his way this entire game. He's just read this so well. Stim is going to finish up here. That's very nice because it was about to be sniped by these Stalkers here.
And I wonder what Australia's thinking here. It's such a weird spot, and he's massing Marauders there as well. It feels like Vindicta was probably going to be going for a follow-up timing, and that's got to be going through Australia's mind.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be pretty confused there, but it does look like he is going to be pushing straight through the map with these tanks, with these units, with a few extra SCVs there to repair as well. Does manage to dodge the stasis trap in the middle of the map that was laid down by the Oracle, and will be getting into a pretty nasty position between the bases here.
Yeah, great decision to see that the Rax was going down, the Stalkers were out on the map, but Australia does recall immediately.
Yeah, and I am a little bit worried for Vindicta here. I love this bunker wall. This is very good. He does need to deny as much surface area as he can for these tanks. They are kind of out in the open here, so find himself in an awkward spot, but sending off a few Marines to the right here is going to be able to take out the third base, and Australia can't go down the ramp here. Find himself in quite an awkward position. But here he goes. He's going to jump in before these bunkers can be finished, lifting up 2 of the tanks here right away, and the Zealots starting to get on everything.
And there just isn't enough bio here, it feels like. There's some loading into the bunkers.
Yeah, they went into the bunkers with the Zealots. They're just taking down those bunkers way too fast. In Australia, he's going to be able to get the 2-0, and he is pretty happy with himself there. Nice little lead there for Alpha X in this series.
And he definitely played that very well. There was such a weird hodgepodge of units, as you said before. It's very awkward to think about how you respond in those periods, but he defended very, very well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a very unorthodox play coming out from Vindicta. Definitely looks like something trying to snipe Astrea with, you know, playing around with his own image as well. I know Vindicta, not really a player that goes for cheeses too often. So knowing that Australia knows him quite well, I think he expected to be catching him off guard there a little bit. And to be honest, I think he did catch him off guard a little bit. He didn't have that battery finished right away, but Australia's reactions on the fly were just so good though.
Yeah, definitely. Excellent play by Australia, taking that series.
Sad to see it. Sad to see the Ducklings going down, but we're not out yet. We do have the chance to keep going through this one if Paddy Mac can get the 2-0 over Ragnarok. And while that is a steep task, Paddy Mac's been doing pretty well against some top Zergs recently.
And I guess when we think about Ragnarok's mental at the moment, I want to see the chart as well. And I hope that they put it down to like 2 or 3 at the moment, because he had a very rough weekend. He just got taken out. Spoiler alert for GSL, but 4-0 by Maru in a gut-wrenching series, and you could see the pain on his face. And while
I don't know,
while
did you
Maru wasn't able, no, I didn't catch it. It was that bad. Oh no,
it was so sad.
Yeah. While Maru wasn't able to play his games because he was out putting, I don't think Ragnarok felt the same after that series.
Yeah, Ragnarok straight back in there, getting back on the games. I remember what happened in that interview with GSL. Ragnarok, he was up there, and the interviewer, they always interview the second place, which I think is pretty rough. They asked him like, "Oh, you've got your whole family out here. Like, how do you feel about that?" And he's like, "I can't even look at them right now." And I was like, "Oh, that's so sad."
Oh man, that second place interview is so devastating. Like, Sue's talked about it as well before, where he's always said, "I would rather be last than second." Like, it's so gut wrenching in that moment. You put in so much effort to get there, and then just for all your plans to fall apart, Maru just kind of throwing out weird builds that, while Ragnarok was crushing every Terran in the lead up, Maru was just that extra bit better, extra bit more prepared, and it's so hard. It hurts.
Heart-wrenching, absolutely, yeah. But that is something that, in the moment, it sucks, but I think that was Ragnarok's first finals as well, so I'm hoping that he can kind of process everything that he's gone through, look back on it, and be like, yeah, as much as, you know, when you're in something like this, when you're in a sport, when you're in an esport, you do want to have that mental of thinking that you can be the very best, you can, you know, win the biggest competitions. When you do look back on it, you have to be kind of happy with yourself that you got to such a high level. Like, he had such a good showing, and he got to the grand finals of the GSL.
Yeah, really got to dig deep and bring out that champion mindset, which is what you were just talking about there. And yeah, I love this season from Ragnarok. I thought it was so cool. One thing that I've been thinking is he feels like it's Rogue, not 2.0, but it feels like with Rogue leaving to the military, somehow Ragnarok has just absorbed everything about Rogue. He was so smart with all of his builds. It was very, very preparation based.
Yes.
A lot of strong mechanics as well to back everything up, but just the prep, roach builds, everything felt so sick from Ragnarok, and I'm really excited to see how he goes next season, actually.
Yeah, I know what you mean with that. Like, Rogue, he's always known as the hype killer, because he would just prepare so well for these series that he just have these cheeses that exploit gaps in his opponents, where he makes them look easy, really. And that's something that, especially in this matchup, some of the cheeses that you can pull off in ZVP, especially if you know the tendencies of your opponent, can just kind of get you these, I don't want to say free wins, but like these situations where it's almost like an auto win because of this gap that you found.
Yeah, definitely. And they've just brought up the chart now, and looks like Ragnarok is strongest in offense and defense, which is a weird combo, but
interesting.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, for Paddy Mac, we do see a little bit of respect put on that micro and the offense and strategy. Something we didn't quite get time to talk about there. We did see he made a nice run in the NA regionals, actually getting I think it was a 2-1 victory over Scarlet.
I did see that, and I watched the series as well, and it was just solid play. It wasn't like the most gimmicky rubbish. It was some solid Stargate play. He played very, very well in that series, and if he can bring out that A game that he brought out that day, maybe he can take out Ragnarok today.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some tricky builds. He has some weird things that he does. I know he likes to open 3-gate before tech, which is definitely a little bit unusual. But yeah, like you were saying, to take out Ragnarok, definitely going to have to bring out his A game. And one thing that does worry me a little bit is Ragnarok, he does have the ability, if he wants, to kind of go for these skill check builds that will stop Paddy Mac going for what he wants to be doing. So that could be a bit of a road to victory here for Ragnarok. But meanwhile, for Paddy Mac, if he can get his plans off the ground, he does have these really cool openings that kind of go step by step through a whole series of different tech changes. Kind of reminds me of Zoun, actually, when Zoun was at his peak.
Yeah, definitely. Ragnarok, if we look back, he used, and we look at the ESLs and all the ESL Cups, he was the cheesiest man alive. Every single series was him hitting very, very sharp timings. So he has that in his toolbox. So I do wonder, as you said, if he goes for those big skill check builds.
Yeah, I could be seeing some pretty nasty builds coming out from him. I do remember him going for, I believe, was it Ragnarok that went for that build where he like took his third and showed the third and then cancelled it and proxy hatched?
That one was Rogue.
Okay, that was a Rogue build, yeah.
If Rogue, Rogue, maybe Ragnarok isn't Rogue 2.0 yet, because Rogue's builds were insane.
Too sick for Ragnarok, that's what you're saying?
No, Ragnarok is sick. I'm a big fan, but Rogue was just that next level when he would come up with strategies that no one would think about that are so perfect in terms of hitting the prep for an opponent. Just as an update, by the way, Paddy Mac is currently not here, and admins are currently waiting 10 minutes for Paddy to show. So we're just waiting at the moment for Paddy to show up.
Yeah, Paddy Mac took that Lord of the Rings quote a little bit too much to heart. He arrives, you know, what's the... A wizard arrives right when he's expected? I can't remember the exact quote.
I think it's a wizard is never late or early. He arrives exactly when he is needed.
There we go.
Enough, but
I knew you'd help me out there, you nerd.
Oh, okay, buddy. Bro, you were the one referencing in the first place, pretending.
Pretending I don't know it, yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You know what? To show I'm not a nerd, I've only watched the first 4 episodes of Rings of Power at the moment, so clearly I can't... I don't know. I'm very sad how
You're
that's
not
going.
helping yourself.
Yeah.
Oh no. Rings, yeah. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is he is, you know, the fashionably late kind of type of guy. He has done this before.
Does he always arrive, or it's just...
He does. He does arrive. He arrives eventually when he's most needed. When Light starts crying, when he's like in full despair mode, that's when Paddy Mac arrives and he's like, "Don't worry, Light. I got this."
I can just imagine Light on the phone on Discord, calling him up, crying, "Paddy, we need you. It's so important right now." But
we need you, puppy. We need you. I mean, well, yeah. Of course, thanks for the admins, just for, you know, hanging around, letting him get himself organized. Maybe he was expecting a little bit of a longer series between Vindicta and Astrea, but Vindicta going for those kind of nasty cheeses, shortening that one up a little bit. So Paddy Mac, hopefully, I'm just gonna check actually the clan chat to see if he's, you know, there and ready to go. No trace of him.
Oh no. I am curious. When we see these graphs, have we seen any hit a 10? Everything I see, it's like 9, 9, 8, 8, 8. But no 10s.
Yeah.
Have they assigned any to anyone?
I think Mario had a 10, if I remember right.
Wow, okay.
I think Dark might have had one too.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's just Mario and Dark. Because we were talking about this before. Not many people have A's either. They gave a B to Beyond. Beyond was a B. You see how Ragnarok's got the A grade next to him?
Yep.
Yeah, Beyond was a B and Cure was a B. I'm like, wow, that's harsh. I mean, Cure just won GSL like a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, definitely. And Beyond's always up there. Ragnarok, I guess is very recent as well. He's performing very well at the moment, but I guess last season we probably wouldn't rate him as highly as this is.
Yeah, for sure. But it does look like he is going to be that A player. But a little bit of unfortunate news coming through. It looks like Unfortunately, Patty Mac not able to arrive on time, and Alpha X is going to be getting the walkover win. So definitely not how you like to see these going down.
Yeah, that really sucks. It does. It was going to be a hard matchup, of course, but like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, never what you want to see happening. It's always exciting to have the opportunity for these players to be going up against these top Korean players as well, and just showing to the world what they can do. So yeah, I gotta say, really, really disappointed there, but in the end, that is what's gonna be going down. We did, of course, get that one map with Dolan, so that is the one thing that we can kind of grab onto. Those maps do matter in the end. The map score is gonna be what separates most of the time those bottom few teams. If we're able to get a few wins along the way here as well, might not have to rely on the map score, but glad Dolan could at least get us that consolation prize though.
And looking back, yeah, it's pretty cool having Dolan as this kind of sniper. Yeah, being able to take out very strong opponents with some very cheeky builds. It's definitely very cool to see. And he definitely showed up today getting that win against Zoun.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely showed up for the team. So yeah, a little bit of a shame here. I know, of course, this team league can be at some pretty awkward times for the Americans. I think Vindicta was saying that he has to wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. for these. I don't know, Patty Mac, of course, he's a student, so needs to sleep for uni and stuff like that. I've been there. I don't know if I would be able to wake up at 5 a.m.
Hey,
in 3 hours, so probably not.
Bro, but you being a working man too, staying up with me at 2 a.m., I appreciate that. So
absolute degenerate, but
yeah.
I guess, yeah, unfortunately, not the way that we wanted to end it, but that is going to wrap things up for tonight. Once again, thank you so much for being here, Chappy. Really excited to get you here casting. Do you think we're going to be seeing some more casting coming out from you in the future?
I think so. It'll matter how I feel tomorrow morning, just based at work, and if I'm just fried at my computer. But I had such a blast today that I'd love to if I get the opportunity again. I think that'd be sick.
Yeah, awesome. And do you want to promote a bit of your socials? Do you have a Twitter, anything like that we can find you on?
Yeah, Rainer RB on Instagram is very important to me.
Disgusting.
Yep, give that man some follows. Big fan of him. He deserves everything he gets. That's about it.
You see Ragnarok kind of celebrating that win a little bit, but I'm sure he would have liked to play that one out. As yeah, that is going to be the end of things for tonight. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here with us tonight. Our next broadcast for the CranKy Ducklings, we do have Berserker Team League. That is going to be at 4 a.m. in 2 hours. So CranKy Ducklings will once again be competing for that Berserker Team League. So if you guys want to catch some more of CranKy Ducklings in action, hopefully going to be seeing everyone up and ready to go, as that is at a bit of a later time. So you'll be able to see more of what we have in store. Maybe some of the other players that you didn't get to see tonight. And that is, yeah, coming up in 2 hours. But until then, that'll be it for us tonight. If you want to find me as well, you can find me at twitchtv.asherbro. I have been streaming a little bit from time to time. But yeah, that is going to be it. Thanks again as well to Kuro doing all the production for this. So great to have her helping us out there. As, without Light, I think we do need a little bit of extra help.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it. This was a blast tonight. Yeah, thanks for having me on just to cast, and fun series.
Yeah, of course. Glad to have you, and hoping, of course, that Light is feeling better soon. Everyone in the chat, just give Light a bit of your love. We know he works so very hard for the CranKy Ducklings, and I'm sure he would have loved to be casting here tonight if he was able to. So just send him your love. Give him your hearts in the chat. Give him some of these. But yeah, that is going to be it for us tonight. You can't see yours? You
can't see my heart, but I am singing my heart out to Light at the moment.
Yeah, but anyway, that is going to be it for us tonight. So Thank you very much, guys, and see you in 2 hours if you're around for that. Bye bye.
Guys, have a good one. Mwah.